everyone saw me get stripped of committees as a brand new member of Congress, robbing my district of the ability to have representation working on committees. There was no action taken. As a matter of fact, our leader did nothing to defend me, did nothing to stop it. Then we saw today Paul Gosar censured, and then we saw him lose a committee. And this is another failure. But what do we see happening? 13 traitor Republicans helped Joe Biden pass his agenda, handing their voting card over to Nancy Pelosi, and nothing happens to them. So here's what we have to have. I think we feel confident that in 22 we're going to take back the House, but we have to take back the House with Republicans with a plan that are actually going to put it into action instead of talk about it on Fox News. And that is what I want to see happen. So here's what leadership is going to have to do. Right now, we know that Kevin McCarthy has a problem in our conference. He doesn't have the full support to be speaker. He doesn't have the votes that are there because there's many of us that are very unhappy about the failure to hold Republicans accountable, while conservatives like me, Paul Gosar, and many others just constantly take the abuse by the Democrats. The American people aren't going to have it.
Okay, again, as with Lauren Boebert, what are the big issues with these people is they're not actually intelligent people. They're just doing a version of a thing they've seen on TV. So when she says he doesn't have the votes that are there, she doesn't even know what she's saying at that point. A failure to hold Republicans accountable while being mean to Paul Gosar. Well, so do you want them to be held accountable, or do you not want them to be held accountable? Like she doesn't know. She has an idea, sort of the threat that she's trying to put together towards House leadership, but she doesn't really know what she's saying. Does she like Kevin McCarthy? Does she not like Kevin McCarthy? She's implying there that he doesn't have the votes to be the leader, which, by the way, might be true, and also I don't really care, but the idea that the House leadership, the position as House Majority Leader, should hinge on whether you're nice to Marjorie Greene or not, when, again, what would he have done to protect her? Honestly. Like, if the thing that he did that was so bad was that she got censured and Paul Gosar got censured, first of all, she didn't mention why in either of those cases. She's suspiciously leaving off the context of that. But what would he have done? How would he protect? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. And he has been an apologist for so much else that has happened. Remember, with Marjorie Greene, she didn't get censured for the first awful thing that came up. They let multiple things slide, and he was perfectly fine with those. And in the case of who she wants to be held accountable, it's the traitor Republicans who handed over their voting card to Nancy Pelosi. Well, she said that one of the reasons that what he had allowed was bad was that she lost her committee privileges. She lost the ability to work in the committees. And then I would have to ask, well, work towards what? And by that, I don't mean that she's completely lacking in substance and doesn't actually care and doesn't know anything. I don't mean that. Let's say hypothetically she was going to work on something. They're in the minority, so if anything is going to get passed, it's going to be working with Democrats, just by definition. So would you not be handing over your voting card to Nancy Pelosi? If you were in some crazy alternate dimension to come up with a piece of legislation that the Democrats wanted to pass with you, how would that work? How would that not make you a traitorous Republican? She doesn't explain. What work does she want to do? What would she be doing? She'd be doing nothing. But anyway, despite the fact that she made those threats against Kevin McCarthy, she then tweets, "I just got off a good call with GOP leader. We spent time talking about solving problems not only in the conference but for our country. I like what he has planned ahead." Well then, does that, okay. I highly doubt that he has sketched out a legislative agenda that she's like, yes, I believe that will answer the concerns of my constituents. It's either that she's just like frantic and frenetic and has no idea what she's talking about, which there's some evidence in that direction. Or what he did was he reassured her about her place in the caucus were they to take over. That she will get her committees back, Paul Gosar will get their committees back, they'll have revenge against the Democrats that wronged them. That honestly seems like the most likely thing going on here. And by the way, that is probably going to happen. They said, if you censure Paul Gosar, well then, we're going to do it to you. We're going to do the same thing. And they probably will. But Democrats don't do videos of them murdering, their colleagues or whatever. They don't say the terrible things that she said. So they are going to strip Democrats of their committee hearings, but it's going to be for nonsense. And there's a risk in that. When the American people see what they're using their power for, are they going to approve that? Some Republicans definitely will. We're going to have to see if that's enough to actually regularly win a continued majority.